You know what I like, John?
What do you like, Greg?
A non-divisive list,
Oh,
which is what WatchMojo always delivers.
specialty.
What did I say your name was? John?
John.
That's John.
That's Greg.
I'm Greg. We are the real
Not
rejects.
the fake ones.
We decided to take a more professional approach from here on out. We're trying to land some hosting gigs. It's never going to happen. Let's watch today from WatchMojo Top 10 Scariest Characters in Non-Horror Films. Because the word horror is in here, YouTube's like, yellow dollar bill. Whoa, but don't make videos for kids. This is a top reward tier video request from a man named Andrew Hayes, who's looking sexier than ever because he's going to be the best man at a wedding.
Ooh.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Something doesn't have to be scary to frighten the life out of you. Hey guys, it's Stevie with WatchMojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 scariest characters in non-horror films.
Do you think you're up to?
Yeah,
We're
good call.
taking a look at nightmare-inducing characters to appear in genres other than horror. Let's get to it.
You will not laugh. You will not
Good
laugh.
call.
You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you.
Number 10, Witch King of Angmar.
Oh, yeah.
Lord of the Rings, The Return of
Woo.
the King. Yes, we know, the orcs
Very
in the
good
Lord
call.
of the Rings are pretty grim.
No one's gonna save you now.
But at least you know where you're at with them. The Witch King of Angmar, on the other hand, geez. If his gravelly voice coming from the black abyss of his helmet wasn't enough to give you chills,
Do you not know death when you see it? Old man.
the guy rides a freaking fell beast.
I think
dragon
all the
and
rates are
boasts armor
pretty
that
scary.
looks like an inside-out Iron Maiden. The Witch King is also a relentless force to be reckoned with, mowing soldiers
Yeah.
over without mercy and leading the huge army of the Nazgul.
God,
His flesh.
those effects are still so
Oh,
good.
did we mention he's super tight with Sauron? Number 9, the Emperor. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
I've never found him
For many,
scary.
his shaky yet
I
menacing
love
voice
him.
alone is
I don't
enough
think
to
he's
induce
scary.
terror. Not to mention his trademark evil cackle. The Emperor, or Darth Sidious.
Try to be
is
scared
known
in
as
person.
perhaps the most infamous name in the galaxy, and for
Especially if
good
he
reason.
zaps you.
Not only does his mastery of the Force make him incredibly dangerous physically, especially when it comes to lightning attacks, but his powers of manipulation are arguably even more notorious, famously turning the good-natured Anakin to the dark side.
Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the heat flow.
Nah, I'll give it to them. Yeah, you know what?
Aside
Yeah,
from
sure,
all
why
that,
not?
his pale, wrinkled skin and yellow, sunken eyes have a way of just staring into your soul.
So be it. Jedi.
Number 8. The
Yes.
Batman Returns.
Yes.
When Tim Burton is in the director's chair, you can always expect a few dark surprises to appear on screen. And in Batman Returns, Burton somehow managed to make penguins terrifying, or at least man-penguin hybrids. Danny DeVito's portrayal of the penguin, also known as Oswald Cobblepot, is proof that size doesn't matter when it comes to an intimidating and terrifying villain.
Yeah.
Not only is his appearance a little unusual and unnerving, with an elongated nose, blackened eyes, and rotted teeth, but he's totally unpredictable. One minute he's making bad jokes, and another he's biting your nose off.
No,
And
don't show it.
he's grunting while he does it.
Don't you? No, I hate this scene.
Number 7,
Oh, thank God.
Kevin, Sin City. This
Kevin's
slick
pretty
black and
creepy.
white anthology movie introduces us to a wide variety of despicable personalities.
Kevin is good.
Why is it all to make fun of me like that?
That's not Kevin.
Brings out the worst in me.
That's a yellow
But
bastard
none of them
right
are
there.
quite as spine-chilling as
Bastards.
Kevin, the cannibalistic psychopath.
I'm sorry, kid, but I haven't even started with this creep.
And it's not just
Ah, I love this movie. Love this movie.
Elijah Wood's boyish good looks give Kevin an almost innocent, childlike demeanor, which make his horrendous actions even more sickening.
This is a
And no
great
matter
movie
what
theater
he
experience.
does,
8th grade.
the hell out of him with his
Yeah,
claw-like fingers, or
but
eating
Miss
parts of
Congeniality
the
2
wall forces you
tickets.
to watch, you'll never see that subtle smirk seen from his face.
Keep smiling that damn smile.
Watch.
Suck the meat off my fingers.
Even when he's eating
Maybe watch.
pale neck.
Yeah, good call.
In a similar vein to Burton, Guillermo del Toro has a
But this
penchant
is-
for terror,
This is
even
a
when
horror
horror
movie,
is
though.
not on the menu.
It's like fantasy horror. I wouldn't call this a non-horror movie. I
No
feel like this is
character
usually
walks outside
categorized there.
The pale man from Pan's Labyrinth. A skinny, pale-skinned, child-eating entity with no eyes in its head, the Pale Man is arguably one of cinema's most iconic monsters.
How can you not call this a horror movie? It's so crazy. It's
pretty
disgusting.
horrifying,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is totally a horror movie.
It raises its eyes to watch you.
Oh god, that scene.
This was I remember watching this in the theaters, just terrified.
The kind of thing
terrifying.
you imagine chasing you up the stairs when the lights go out. The Pale Man may be slow, but if those wall paintings are anything to go by, he should be afraid. Be very afraid. Number 5, Judge Doom.
What?
He's pretty freaky though. He scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
Especially
When he murders the tunes.
He's got that whole
And
when he
then
comes
fast.
back in 2D.
Major arm
That's
top
true.
type look about him.
I'll tell you everything.
Yes, I know you will.
But it's not his human form
I don't
that
know.
makes them
I would.
physically. Towards the end
Yes,
of Who Framed
this.
Roger Rabbit, Judge Doom is revealed to be a toon. Yeah, a cartoon-like thing that looks kind of human, but not quite. With his animated, bulging eyes, ability to turn parts of his body into weapons, and his weird Daffy Duck-like voice, he's absolutely petrifying.
Remember me, Eddie? When I killed your brother, I talked. Yes!
And then there's this whole Wicked Witch of the West melting act.
Oh god.
I still would have put him higher. It's definitely not scarier than the Pan's Labyrinth guy.
Yeah.
Hands up, who was scared of him as a kid? Number 4, T-1000.
Yeah, good call.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Good call.
The idea of a cyborg hunting you down is pretty scary. 1984's The Terminator taught us that. But the sequel took things up a
basically a
notch with the
slasher movie.
T-1000.
God, I always
Not
remember.
only
Yeah.
is this assassin programmed to stop at nothing to take out a target, but
Ugh.
it has the ability to turn into liquid and ooze through the cracks in doorways,
Get
create
out.
stabbing weapons with its arms, smile, act friendly, and impersonate the people closest to you. So it can basically get you anywhere at any time.
Split, man, just go.
Oh, and we forgot to mention how it's basically indestructible, shrugging off bullets, explosions, and even liquid nitrogen.
He's coming back
So
in
if
Terminator
you're pulled
7.
over by a cop and
Oh,
he looks
boy.
like this, follow Wayne's example. Number 3, The Joker, The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy is so highly acclaimed is because it couldn't be more removed from the Schumacher days. His is a Batman that gets hurt, and his enemies are realistically ruthless. Exhibit A, The Joker. Sure, he wears face paint and a vibrant purple suit, but beyond that, he is a moralless psychopath who likes getting up close and personal with a knife.
Let's put a smile on that face.
Heath Ledger's Joker could really exist. He's someone who's sick of the status quo, works without rules, and gets a kick out of terrorizing innocent people.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
People like that are on the news all the time. Add to that his elusive backstory, and you've got yourself a villain more real than most.
Is it the scars? Or an avocado?
Definitely
Number
my
2,
favorite Joker.
Anton Chigurh.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men.
Undoubtedly.
Another baddie laced in goosebump-inducing realism is the Coen brothers' Anton Chigurh. Played by Javier Bardem in an Oscar-winning performance, Chigurh is a hitman without a conscience who takes out multiple innocent people throughout
Number
the
one's
world,
gonna be
and
Thanos.
occasionally races the political coin to decide their fate.
What's the most you've ever lost in a coin toss? Sir? The most you ever lost in a coin toss.
It was a
His
coin.
empty-eyed, emotionless stare and weird haircut is enough to put anyone on edge.
Hey,
But it's
hey.
the slow, methodical way in which Chigurh intimidates those he encounters that really gets
That guy
us.
has a similar
You wanna
hairstyle.
shoot me? That depends. Do you see me?
And to add to his realistic, unglamorous characterization, Chigurh carries a bolt gun around with him,
Yeah.
a tool that requires him to get right up close to his victims before pulling the trigger.
What is that for?
You. Will you hold still, please?
That's
Anton
great.
Chigurh is
So
literally
good.
bone-chilling, and if only because he drank all of that milk.
Can you hold
Yeah.
still? I just
Before
love
we
that.
unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Mommy. Mommy. Oh, hell yeah. No one ever calls this movie out. I haven't seen this.
I know you're here somewhere.
You say the word, Lord.
Oh.
Hell yeah, man. Ew. Wow, that hurt.
Speaking of Jack, why not Jack?
I mean, you could put Willem Dafoe on like a billion.
Seafood store.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe.
You could have
to our
taken
channel
10
and
Willem
ring the
Dafoe
bell to get notified
performances,
when
even
we
his
post
protagonist
videos.
roles.
You'll have the option to check out all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, HAL 9000.
Ah,
2001,
not
A
bad.
Space Odyssey. We've had creepy cartoons, putrid penguins, sinister cyborgs, and killer clowns, but nothing quite chills us to the bone like HAL 9000 from Stanley Kubrick's 2001. On the surface, HAL is just a simple, basic red lamp, right? Well, HAL is also a sentient form of intelligence, installed on a spacecraft to assist those on board, being incapable of error. Error meaning failure. And that makes the presence of unreliable humans rather difficult.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
With its eye constantly on the success of the mission, the soft-spoken HAL stops anyone who looks to jeopardize it.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
HAL may not have a face, but the emotionless glow of that red light is scarier than any face we can imagine.
Calm voice.
Give me your answer to.
HAL's voice might be the most eerie thing about him. Like, how's he so chill? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments or tweet me at Phoebe_WM. And check out this video.
Okay, Phoebe. I'd be more than happy to tweet you. Hey. That's all I'm gonna say.
What's up?
Public tweet.
Like.
Not a direct message.
Yeah, there you
Hey,
go.
hi.
Hey, you up?
I decided in this jump cut in between to look up Pan's Labyrinth, and apparently it's not categorized as a horror film on IMDb or Wikipedia, so that actually surprises me because when I went to go watch it, one of the things people told me was that it's a fantasy drama horror movie, but apparently every category here is dark fantasy drama. I'm like, damn. So WatchMojo, take it back. I guess you've earned it. Like, I know the film's not filled with horror throughout, but there's more than just that one scene. Like, it's a pretty tense movie, and there's a lot of scary monsters and stuff in there.
And I feel like you could make the argument because Guillermo del Toro incorporates horror and monsters throughout his work.
True.
So it's always in there.
I'm always suggesting that for a lot of stories, even if your story is not a horror film, a lot of times if you take a bit of a horror approach, no matter what the genre is, you can just immediately add some type of tension to it if you're taking a bit of a horror aesthetic. Not even look, but just pacing wise, tonal wise. It always helps out. That's why there's a lot of scary characters out there or really intense scenes that feel like they're out of a horror movie when they're not. Like Jurassic Park, a lot of people don't consider that a horror film, but in a lot of ways it is, though.
It's a
you
monster
know?
movie, yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually had a similar reaction to The Witch King of Angmar because, you know, Lord of the Rings is another dark fantasy with a lot of sequences that borrow directly from horror aesthetics. Peter Jackson has a background in horror, so that flavor is definitely... I feel like fantasy in general has an easy inroad to horror because it usually involves mysterious lands, mysterious creatures, peril, you know, and so all that extra unknown creates, I think, a certain air of horror.
I got a few.
Do you? Do you
I got a
need
few-
me
I got a
to
few
remind
characters.
you?
No.
Okay.
I'd say Samuel L. Jackson from Jackie Brown. Orville something or another.
Ordell.
Ordell, yeah, that's what it is, Ordell. I remember the first time I watched it, it's like Sam Jackson's like kind of funny and amusing, but then early on in the movie when he has to take assertiveness, especially with like the Bridget Fonda character, but towards like the finale of that film, especially what goes down with him and De Niro, he gets pretty scary to me. And also another Tarantino film I would say is Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards. He's a pretty terrifying guy. Granted, he's kind of like more funny in the last few minutes of that movie. But I'd say for a good chunk of that movie when he's on screen, he's a menace. So I'd definitely say him. I'd also say Chris Hemsworth from Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of build up to his character there, and then when he has the chance to steal the show with his screen presence, one of the most tense scenes of that year was Chris Hemsworth's whole scene where he's taunting, torturing our main characters. He's great in that movie. So those are like 3 people I'd add on. I actually feel like you could pull a lot of names for this list, but those are the 3 that immediately come to mind for me. You got anyone you want to add on?
Well, I feel like you could pull a bunch from Tarantino because both his character Steven in Django Unchained is pretty freaky, and also Calvin Candy gets pretty horrifying.
Sure.
Especially during the dinner scene when, you know, he loses his shit. Just the level of intensity is pretty gnarly.
What about the girl from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Oh, yeah, Nurse Ratched.
Nurse Ratched.
Yeah.
I almost said Nurse Hatchet. Nurse Ratchet.
You know, same difference.
Nurse Ratched, I think, is terrifying. That's not a horror film.
That is true.
The thing with Palpatine for me is, yes, he's maniacal, he's gleeful, everything about him rings of a horror villain, but I've never really found him scary. What he's doing can be scary in terms of the context for what the characters are receiving from him. I've always been really entertained and really amused by him, but I've never particularly found him scary. I might be in the minority on that, though. I know he's a beloved character. I just never really associated him as a scary villain.
Well, I think that now that Rise of Skywalker is out and it's been confirmed that he procreated with somebody, that really clinches the terror, because then you have to think about Palps having sex and you just don't want to do that, you know? So I think that earns the spot.
Might as well. Also, I have to agree with Penguin from Batman Returns. That movie terrified me when I was a kid. I've grown to really love that film. I saw it again a couple of years ago, and when I look at it more as like a Tim Burton movie as opposed to a Batman movie, I really do like it. And out of those films from the 90s of Batman, that's actually my favorite one. I do prefer over the Jack Nicholson one. But Penguin is terrifying in that film. I was really haunted by the whole biting the nose thing. Like, the fact that the kids were gonna go watch it and I saw it as a little kid, it was so freaking scary when he did that. Just the image is, and I'm really glad they didn't show it on screen here.
Oh, speaking of other, you know, kind of films like that, Coraline came to my mind. The Puppet Mom is pretty freaky, and that's another dark fantasy. And I think that was one of those movies that came out where people were like, is this gonna be too freaky for children?
Yeah. I'm surprised Kevin is on this list.
Yeah.
I would see him more as an honorable mention than one of the top 10. I think it's because when I first saw it, I was really distracted by the fact it was Elijah Wood. Because Lord of the Rings had just come out. And the whole time I'm like, it's Elijah Wood. I'm really distracted by the fact that it's Elijah Wood. I mean, yeah, it is technically like a scary character, but he's barely in the movie too.
Yeah.
You know, not much of a presence.
I really like just him, Kevin, in the movie, but yeah, for the short amount of time he's on screen, I am surprised that he landed in the middle of this list and not maybe at like the 10 spot or something like that, or honorable mention.
But Judge Doom, sure. Well, you see, confession, I didn't see Roger Rabbit until a year ago. And I did enjoy it a lot. I was surprised by how adult it is. Yeah, it's all these like toon characters throughout, like famous toon characters are really prevalent in that film.
It's a big deal.
It's kind of a mature movie. Like the themes of murder, a lot of sexual stuff too.
Kids love Bob Hoskins.
So I was surprised by that. And I will say that, yeah, in terms of like watching it as a child, I can imagine the Judge Doom character being... The scene where I thought it was menacing the most was when he murders one of the toons. When he's introducing the toxic waste vad thing that he has, and he slowly puts one in, and the tank.
There's a name for it, and I can't remember off the top of my head. It's like goo, but not.
He calls it the dip.
That scene was the part where I thought it was scary. Like all the other animation stuff, I was more fascinated by. I could see from a child perspective how that's scary.
He still unnerves me when he comes back in his cartoon form in the finale. Like that whole ending bit for him, I still find pretty squirmy and uncomfortable.
The T-1000, I felt like this list would include Arnold from Terminator or the T-1000 from T2. But I think there's a much bigger argument to be made that Terminator 1 is a horror movie.
It's basically a slasher movie with a robot.
Yeah. T2 has its dark undertones and its menace that is definitely prevalent, but it's more of a sci-fi action film. And the T-1000 in that movie is really scary. It's pretty impressive how he managed to outdo Arnold in terms of being scary. You know, it's rare like to have the villain of Arnold. And, so T2's That and The Matrix. Great movies. This Agent Smith, you can say, too.
What about the incinerator from Toy Story 3?
Sure, yeah. Weirdly, the one that I think people might have a bit of a gripe with could be Heath Ledger's Joker. It's like, is he actually scary? My eyes, I thought he was a scary villain. I felt like that was part of the fun of watching him, is that he is really funny, he is really clever, but I did find him also to be really scary. Of course, all these lists are subjective, but I'm just glad he's on here, because he's Heath Ledger's The Joker. Oh, just thought of another one.
Oh.
Jude Law from Road to Perdition.
Oh,
I think he's a pretty creepy-ass villain and definitely not a horror movie, but he's great. He's great in that movie. Have you guys seen it? If you guys haven't seen it, you should watch it.
How about Vincent D'Onofrio, Men in Black?
You thought he was scary?
He's funny, but also like just the more he rots and the worse he looks in physical human form. I do think he's actually kind of unnerving.
Push! Push! Give me sugar. Anton Chigurh, that's a no-brainer right there. I'm surprised they flashed to the sergeant from Full Metal Jacket, and he's not on this list.
I know.
Even as an honorable mention.
Arlie Ermy, that's his character.
Well, he was a real drill sergeant,
Yeah.
and then they put him in there.
Yeah.
And then he made a career playing drill
Doing
sergeants. Or playing takes on that in like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. But I'm surprised he's not on the list. He's totally terrifying in that movie.
He is.
HAL 9000, that's a no-brainer. I haven't even seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. Had tickets to watch it on the IMAX re-release. Something really important came up and I had to return my tickets. Why would you reformat a film in IMAX format and only put it out for a week? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it seems like you would get your investment's worth, but maybe they don't think that the kids today are going to turn out for 2001.
I couldn't go back because it was sold out. That's why.
You know, maybe they figured that all of the kids will come in this 5-day window.
And I don't want to go to an IMAX screen sitting at the front row.
Really,
How painful that would be.
it'll really
Gosh.
make that famous montage immersive.
And I know I was
colors.
joking about him being number one on this list, but I think Thanos would qualify as at least an honorable mention.
Sure. Yeah, I would put him in. He's scary in a stakes way. His demeanor when he's just chilling isn't that scary, but you know,
That's fair.
You know,
That's a fair way to put it.
because we do see him like chilling and just like in his element, so to speak. You know, not menacing an Avenger. Anybody else? Any other bright ideas?
Yeah, I do got one. Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct.
Ooh, thriller though. You're getting close, G. You're getting
Not a horror
close.
movie. Yeah.
It's just thrilling.
Yeah. She's pretty scary in that film. You don't know when. Scarface.
Giovanni Ribisi and Ted
Yeah.
is pretty freaky, and like his level of commitment is unsettling in and of itself.
You know, this might be an odd pick. I don't remember any names of the characters in the movie, but in Apocalypto. Have you seen that?
No.
In Apocalypto, there's this really sinister villain there. He's not like head honcho of the group. I remember in the theaters when there was a showdown with him, everyone applauded. And this was during when people were hating Mel Gibson. But everyone applauded.
Mel Gibson, just in real life.
Hey. Hey.
Sorry.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Chris Brown.
It's long ago.
Kanye West. What villain do you think should be on this list? Leave a comment below. Subscribe to WatchMojo. You could do the same for us. Click our notification bell. We should just take the image from their video, their graphic, whoever they hired, and put it on.
Make a little extra overlay.
And Andrew, our loyal patronaject. Thank you so much for requesting this, dude. Andrew is getting fit and in shape because he's going to be the best man at the wedding. Now, as best man, you got to make sure you take the groom on a crazy, wild bachelor party. You live in the East Coast, so you better. You better. But also, it's good that you're getting in shape, looking fit, looking sharp. Make sure you get a really nice suit for the wedding, because there's always the ladies looking at the single best man. Believe me, I wouldn't know, because I've never been best man at a wedding. But I think that's how it goes, and you got to take advantage of that.
Plus, if you wear your Wolverine hat, like that's gonna bring everybody in, because there's nothing sexier than a man in a suit with a comic book hat on.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yeah,
he's edgy.
He's too cool for this ceremony.
Or you just look like a disrespectful jackass.
Yeah, you should really take your hat off.
Don't wear the hat.